was always a maybe. And girl, let's go, let's see what happens. Cause I'm tired of imagining what loving you feels like. I'm just so attracted, baby.
Get going very shortly because we have to be on time. It'll be a short little introduction and we are at 9 o'clock, so stand by. Music's fading and backing track is up. And welcome everybody to the Innovation Summit, to the Planet Room. My name is Peter Greenwall. Welcome inventors, enablers. I wish I had something to say. Thank you. That would make you stop and think and go, what? No way, but I got nothing. Zip, haven't even got a clue. As I stand here talking to you and you and you, I'm just making it up as I go along, so I can take you to the catchy part of my song that goes something like, wake me, shock me, shake me out of my stupid zone. We need a little bit of heavenly inspiration. Oh yeah, wake me, shock me, shake me out of my stupid zone. Tell me something I don't know. Oh yeah, wake me, shock me, shake me out of my woo. Are we all awake? In the Planet Room and online, are we all awake at home, wherever you're watching? Welcome to the Planet Room. This is the place where ideas will be making it. And to start this day of inspiration, it's all about inspiration. We have a masterclass. It's called Mapping the Digital Journey of Your Business. This is where you're going to learn how to ensure that your website, your platform, or your app, whatever it is that you've built, attracts customers. That's the first step. You've got to get the people to your website or your app. Keeps them, that's very important. How do we keep them interested? And of course, drive sales. That's very important. And so I'm about to introduce our two masterclass experts. They are Hanno van der Merwe, who will be coming up in a second. Hanno van der Merwe is a digital marketing and user interface design strategy and development specialist at TypeDev with nearly 2 decades of experience in the industry. He holds an honors degree in information science and is in the process of obtaining his MBA specializing in digital marketing. Hanno's passion lies in ensuring that users are engaged and motivated to adopt desired behaviors through gamification, stunning design, and user interaction. Big round of applause for Hanno. And of course, I'm going to thank you. Welcome, FeminTech. Is this all the FeminTech people that are in the room? Yes. Okay. A professional. Our next masterclass presenter will be Bruce Liu. He's a professional in both business and software development. Bruce is a senior digital strategist at TypeDev, where he remodeled the software strategy methodology for the company. He concurrently strategizes for more than 10 startups through Tux Novation. In 2019, he graduated with his master's in commerce in text analysis, which falls under data mining and artificial intelligence. He is currently studying his PhD in accelerating startups while assisting the startup of TypeDev. Please give a warm round of applause for Bruce and Hanno. Take it away, guys.
All right, welcome everyone. Thank you very much for joining us for this masterclass and to the SIS for this opportunity to present to you today. We are TypeDev, and at TypeDev we believe that your human-computer interaction should be as simple as interaction with the real world or with real people. We operate in Johannesburg, Gauteng, and Cape Town, and we're busy opening our European branch in Vienna, where Bruce and I are busy studying My MBA, as mentioned, in digital marketing, and Bruce is focusing on startups for his PhD. We are today going to just give you a brief overview of our organization. We're then going to take you through some detail of our strategy processes, and at the end we're going to have an interactive session where we would like you to engage with us. We're going to give you a checklist of some questions that you can ask yourself when you want to produce or develop a new digital environment. All right. Now, how we start things at TypeDev is we first identify the best team of digital experts in whatever your product requires, in whatever your business requires. Next, we plan out a future-thinking, forward-thinking solution that will last your business and your clients' requirements into extensia. We then develop that product and we ship it as a quality, tested, finalized product using the best practices and the most rigorous testing environment to make sure that all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. Our aim is, at the end of the day, to leave you breathless, to leave your clients breathless, and to make sure that whatever you produce is stunning and ready for the industry. Now, we follow agile methodologies, which means that we are flexible and adaptable, meaning that if new requirements crop up in your platform or new requirements crop up in your industry, we can adapt to those requirements and we can react to it as and when it is required. We're technology agnostic, meaning that we don't focus on a single platform or a single set of tools to build these platforms, but we look at what your business requires and exactly what would be the best tools to put that solution into the market. Now, I've prepared a little interactive questionnaire at the end of the session, and I just wanted to put the QR code up now so you're welcome to open this link if you like. This is just some questions you can ask yourself, again, when you want to walk yourself through this digital strategy process in the future. Of course, this will also allow us to get in touch with you if you would like us to investigate your digital requirements in the future. I will be putting this link up again. I just didn't want us all scurrying for it right at the end when we get to the interaction portion of today's presentation. All right, now I'm going to hand over to my partner Bruce here, who's going to walk you through our strategy. At the end of that, again, we're going to get to the question and answer section, where first of all, we'd like to walk you through the checklist, and then if you've got any questions for us, if there's anything we can help you to answer those questions for your business, we're going to be available for that right at the end. So over to Bruce. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Hanu. Okay, awesome. So a couple of weeks ago when I was in Austria, I was in a startup event as well, and one of the presenters said something that made me really think about startups in totality. I was at the edge of my seat, I was staring at her intensely, and I was really thinking, wow, what an intense situation. So what did she say? Yes, you can see it on the board. Every single day, there is 137,000 startups created. Every day. So from yesterday, when you guys saw me, until today, there's 137,000 startups created. 3 times that, and we have Cape Town's population. So now you can really see how big that is. And out of those 137,000, 120,000 of those fail every single day. And that gives us a success rate of only 14%. So, what is their strategy to success? How can those 14% succeed? And why do the rest fail? So if we want to look at why startups succeed, we have to look at the diffusion of innovation theory. This is taken from basic statistics, where you have a normal distribution, and it's segregated into 5 sections, starting from innovators, early adopters, early majority, and so on. And you can see that innovators takes up 2.5%, early adopters take on 13.5%, and so on and so forth. So what are innovators? Innovators are those people that would stand outside the Apple store waiting for the new release to happen next morning at 5 o'clock. Those are your innovators. Early adopters, those are the ones that would see, hey, look, the innovators are up to something. We should follow on quickly. And only once you have passed that percentage have we reached the point called the chasm. That means that if you have that amount of population of your target market, then you have an innovation. So some startups that come to us, they say, we have this new revolutionary product that's going to change the world. What's your target market? The whole world, everyone in the world. 7.9 billion of them. Well, COVID, I'm not sure anymore. But in order for you to create an innovative product for 7.9 billion people, you need to have a target audience that is of 50 million that is using your product before you consider it an innovation. So how do we change that? Reduce the target market. Be a lot more specific to who you want to target. Perhaps it's people that are just swiping their credit cards. Perhaps it's males of certain age. For example, did you guys know dads that buy nappies are also the ones that buy beer? Right? So majority of nappy audience is actually fathers. Okay. So I would like to talk about this guy called Sun Tzu. He wrote the book Art of War in the years of Chinese history. He was a very stable guy. He was very wise. He thought through everything very, very deeply. In this photo, he looks a bit rocky, but that's not a real representation of him. And he said, strategy without tactics is the slowest route to success. Tactics without strategy is a noise before defeat. So, what is strategy in business? What is tactics in business? Okay, your strategy is your why, your how, and your what. Raise of hand, who knows Simon Sinek? Awesome, awesome. So for the ones that don't know, he created this golden circle framework. Very beautiful. I can never say the same things he say, but to replicate it with an example of selling shoes. If you are selling shoes, you would say, my pair of shoes is made of renewable material, it can glow in the dark, it's very durable, you can run into the woods with it, and it'll be brilliant. You want to buy one? You'll be like, oh, yeah, that's cool. But, I'll think about it, right? But what he says is people often forget to say why they're doing what they're doing, why their product exists. So if we turn it around and we say, I believe that we can change the situation in Africa, where we can bring a better world to them. And one of the biggest issues they are facing is the spread of germs, where they don't even have shoes to walk with. And that's why we're selling shoes. Want to buy one? And all of a sudden, it feels a lot more purposeful to buy a pair of shoes from these people. I didn't even tell you what material it's made of, whether it actually fits your feet or not, but you feel like you might actually just give this a go. And that is strategy. If you can pinpoint that why of your business, then you have a strong strategy. So what is tactics then? Tactics is your method of achieving your strategy. The methods that you would take in order to accomplish this dream that you want. Sometimes your dream is going to be out of reach completely. One day we want to be able to allow general population to drive and earn money and allow people at a touch of a button to find a taxi that's available for them. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Uber. And with the access of the mobile phone, with the access of the GPS functionality, they have made that possible. And so that is tactics. But tactics is something that startups are very good at. Extremely creative ideas that they can come up with features, with existing technology. But they often forget the strategy. So it's important to have a balance between these two to actually find the right product for your startup. we know that we need to follow the lean startup methodology, which basically talks about learning, building an MVP, throwing it out into the market, and have a market validation, meaning seeing how the market likes it. If they like it, then sure, let's move on. If they don't like certain features, cut that out, change new features, put it on, throw it back into the market. But without throwing it into the market, you cannot learn, you cannot measure whether people actually like it or not. We have startups that come to us and say, yeah, I thought about this idea for 10 years. And so did you throw it out in the market and validate it? No, but it's going to work. It's going to change the world. But how do you know? How do you know people want it? Okay, so lean startup follows this. But the question now is, how do we make sure that we can actually find the right MVP, your minimal viable product? What is that? That is finding the least amount of features for your product that will give the most amount of value in the market so that you can actually validate people actually want this, they don't want anything else, they want this. Okay. A given example would be Pokemon Go. When they first released their feature in beta version, they just had the catching function. And up till now, that is still their core driver for why people want to play Pokemon. Okay. So how do we actually prioritize this core feature? If we look at urgency and importance on a time management perspective, when we have some features that is urgent, it will be like your login function, where it's urgent, you have to log in before you can use the rest of the system, but is it important? No one's going to buy an app just for a login function and then say, oh, I've managed to log in, this is so cool. No one will do that. So is it actually important for your system? Not really. So what is an important feature that is not urgent? We're looking at dashboards that we can give to executives to make insights into their data. That is important, but is it urgent for a startup? No, not really. Why? Because there's no data in your database. What kind of charts are you drawing out? Okay. So if you can get the good balance of urgent and important features, you would have a strong MVP, which is the heart of your system. Okay. So talking about MVP, how do we actually define that list of features? And over here, we look at two quadrants, which is your viability and your desirability. Desirability means that people actually want this product, and viability means you can actually make money out of this product. So a lot of the times you would have extra functionality on top of it that you can earn money from it, but people don't want it. Who likes ads on YouTube? Fantastic. Glad no one put up their hand. Those are features that you can create revenue from, but people despise it. Okay, that's when it would fall onto the right-hand side of the bubble where it's not the center. Okay. Desirability, when you have features that are competitive in the market, that people really love and enjoy, might not earn you money, but that's what it is. So if you find a balance between the two, then you have a minimal viable product. And now in 2019, Dennis Denny added an extra quadrant to this, and he called it feasibility, where he says, now we actually have to look at the technology and the architecture that's available for you to create and establish this. For example, the Uber example, they used geolocation technology and mobile apps that enabled them to create such a product. Okay, but this is where a lot of the mistakes happen, where startups say, you know what, I can use blockchain to do, I don't know, simple login or something, right? You don't need all these fancy technology all the time. So it becomes important to establish the difference between just a cool technology and one that would work for your business. So finding the balance between the three, you would get your MVP. Dennis Denny also draws on Lica's design thinking framework on top of this, but that's for another day of discussion. So before I get to that, we already spoke about Uber. But when we're thinking about a product that can find me a taxi, what is the first app that comes to your mind? Uber. Yeah, well done, Bruce, yes. So, Uber. On Uber, there's a couple of screens, maybe three or four, that you would say, yeah, those are the screens I'm very familiar with. Finding a taxi, selecting the cart, paying, and then actually just waiting for the taxi to arrive. At the end, you rate them. There's actually so many other features built into it. You can schedule taxis ahead of time for your family, for your whole entire organization on the app. But how many people actually use those features? No one. Okay. So it's very prominent that the heart of their system is there to just find me a taxi now. Okay. So what is the heart of your system? Okay. Next one I'm going to talk about is if you want to buy cryptocurrency, which app do you think about? Luno, fantastic, right? But do you know that Luno has a blogging function as well? We can read up about news, and there's a lot more other functionality inside it. But the ones that we use is only the one on the left and the second last one on the right, which is we want to see the price of it and we want to buy it. That's it. That is their core. So even the blogging section is redundant. It's extra things that they don't need to have in an app. So they've reduced the app down to 4 pages, as you guys can see. How many designs do you have in your idea for your startup? Is it just 4? Or is it a lot more? Okay, so we do need to look at scaling down these features. And we will talk about that in a bit. This is actually my real profile a couple of weeks ago before everything crashed. So the next one that we talk about is if you want to find a date, what is the first app you think about? Tinder, exactly. This isn't my profile though. Okay. Again, in Tinder, there is only a couple of screens inside there. One to pick who you want, one to create your profile, and the last one is to chat with the people. 3 pages. So again, we're looking at scaling down the amount of pages in your app or your product. Okay. And the next one, let me just see before okay, is a client. We also established one of our clients' MVP products, and there is 2 pages on it. The other page, because of data issues, we couldn't show you. But the whole entire MVP product only has 2 pages. Okay. A while ago, one of our clients spoke to me, and he says, yeah, I want to create this payment feature for these clubs that they can join. And then afterwards, after 30 days, if they haven't paid, we're going to create a reminder feature to send them notifications so that they can pay. That's when I was like, why don't you just make the payment feature so good that you don't need a reminder feature? Okay. Then, now that's changing the way he's thinking. Now it's forcing him to actually innovate on the original functionalities of his system instead of building new ones that is redundant. Okay. That's when we will start reaching a level of innovation. Even big organizations that you know out there, Google, has subdivided all of their products into different apps and have different business units running for them. Some they bought over, some they branched out from. From Google Translate, Gmail, Chrome. The moment you say those words, you know they do completely different things. Gmail for emails, they don't do translations. They don't browse the internet, web pages like Chrome, and etc., etc. So to look at what you actually need in industry to build an app, you need to go through requirements elicitation from a business analysis perspective. That's basically just writing down all the list of features that you want to create and drawing designs out of it, like interactive markups and so on. But how do you know what features needs to go into this design? And that's why in TypeDev, we added an extra one called strategy to it. This is where we start looking at what is your actual vision? What are you trying to solve? Where do you want to get to? Okay. And in order to be on top of the industry, we added an extra section called the UX and usability, which in the future we'd also add a technology into it. So again, what you can see is based on the basics of problem and requirements and design, we've added the strategy and the tactics. Okay, so similarly for you guys, this is how you should think. Start with your strategy, go into your problem and requirements, then start looking at the industry to see what technology is out there that can solve my problem that I want. But you need to start with what you want to solve. Okay. Strategy would be components such as marketing, so looking at who your users are, how old are they, etc. What are their lifestyle behaviors? For example, Uber would never work on a website because I'm not carrying my laptop around when I'm trying to look for a taxi. I'm carrying my phone. So what about your audience? Are they sitting in the office? Are they driving around the whole time? What are they busy doing when they're interacting with your platform? Okay, are they farming on the plowing some cabbage? Okay, these are things you need to think about. Then we have competitor analysis to understand what feature you have that is a gap in the market, that is a window of opportunity. And of course, some other entrepreneurship packages, such as the value proposition canvas, but those are standard, so I won't go through that in too much detail. Then problem and requirements, this is basic from the industry. This is talking about business analysis kind of things. If you have more time, you can draw up your database, you can draw up your tech architecture stack, and so on and so forth. This is the stuff that is a lot easier for startups to understand. Then we go into the UX and usability. Again, this is tactics. So you would see a lot of creative things that are happening. Ideation, gamification, workshops, where you sit and brainstorm things to create the features and solve the problems you have identified previously. So the benefits of doing such, first of all, is so that you can actually have a product that speaks to your market, that actually solves their problem in a new and innovative way, with hopefully one feature. Okay. Then, of course, going through this process, now you have several frameworks that you have built together to help you make decisions going forward. If you need to communicate some of these ideas to your team in the future, you have something that you can show them. Look, I made a golden circle framework. Do you want to join my team? Okay. Then, of course, once you have gone through this process, you have a better understanding of how big of this app you need to build, how many features you need to build. And that will, of course, result in how much this is going to cost. And, of course, because of going through the strategy, you actually know whether you have an opportunity in the market. If there is such, if you have a niche. Okay, and then finally, it's just autonomy. It means you can take the same thing and you can go to any dev house and they'll know what to do for you. Okay. Then I would like to hand over back to Hanu.
Thank you very much, Bruce. All right, so this is essentially the strategy process that we like to walk our clients through. And what we'd like to spend the rest of the session on is walking you through a very short version of the strategy process. We're going to ask you some questions. We're going to fill those questions in, whether you use the form or whether you ask yourself those questions. We want you to ask yourself these questions when you develop a new platform for yourself, when you plan to start a new platform for yourself. These are the questions that any dev houses are going to need to know when they actually want to engage with you to design the exact solution that your client is going to need to meet their requirements. We'll go over to the form in just a second. I see that there are still a few people trying to access it. We'll just give you a moment to do so. So again, I need to stress that this is a very short, dumbed-down checklist of the steps that we like to go through. If you engage with us, if you complete the form to its end, and if we can reach out to you to see if we can help you facilitate a lot of these requirements that you have, then we can take you through much more detail, and we can go through these processes and these academic models that Bruce and I have put together for this strategy process So we can map your business in detail, so we can see what your market looks like, so we can see what your users look like, what their requirements look like, and make sure that we come up with the ideal solution to solve your industry's requirements. It looks like we're all ready to go, so I'm going to go on to the next slide. We're going to start by asking you, first of all, what problem is your organization trying to solve? Any business, any product stems from a need. What is the need that your customers have? What is that one thing that you are trying to help them with? Why does your organization exist, in other words? If there wasn't a need in your market, then there wouldn't be a need for your organization. Okay, so think about that. Think about what exactly is the gap in the market. What exactly is the thing that your clients need most? And thus was the genesis of your organization. From that, we need to ask your why. This is your core philosophy. This is the Simon Sinek Golden Circle that Bruce has touched on, where you need to go and say, why did your organization come to be? Now, like I mentioned, TypeDev, what we believe is that human interaction with computers should be as seamless and as easy as it is with interaction with the real world or interacting with real people. And that is our why. That's what we try to do. We try to connect the digital world to the real world and make it as seamless and as simple as it would be working with the real world products. In the current environment that we find ourselves, this is becoming a much more pressing need, allowing organizations like ourselves to fill that niche and to fill that gap. What is your why? What is it that your organization does? Not the product that you sell, but your why, as Bruce said, from Sinek Simek's great example that Bruce used, where if we're trying to solve the problem of people in Africa not having access to good sanitation, a solution to that could be shoes. But the why is not the shoes. The why is trying to make the world a better place, trying to make that problem go away.
So start your sentence with, we believe.
Thank you, Bruce. So that is then the golden circle, as we mentioned, and from the why, you get your how, and then finally your what. Now, the next question that I want to ask you is, what's your core marketable product? Now, to qualify that, your company needs to have a particular thing that you focus on. You can have many products in your periphery, you can have many add-ons, you can have many additional services. But if I ask you today, what does your company sell? If I ask you tomorrow, what does your company sell? If I ask you in 10 years, what does your company sell? That answer needs to be the same. That is your core product. That is your main focus. And everything else could support that. Everything else could add on to that or be additional related topics. But you need to identify for your MVP, what's that one thing? What is the core of your business? What's the product or service that you specialize in, that you want to be known for? That if people think about that one product, your name must come up as the first thing that they think about. Sorry, Bruce. Oh, I think this one was mine. Right, now we get into the competitive space. Who else is delivering that service? Who else is also saying the same why? Who else is providing the same need? Who else are we looking at to fight against in the market? Now, you need to consider this from many different aspects. You've got direct competitors, you've got indirect competitors, all right? Now, an indirect competitor might be someone as simple as, I've got a shopping cart on my website. Who does a great shopping cart? Maybe someone like Amazon. I don't compete with Amazon. That's not someone who's got the same business model as me or the same product or the same why, but they've got a very great user experience in selecting products and putting that online. So can we learn from them? So a competitor analysis is about looking at what can we see from the successes and failures of other organizations. Not just to compete against their products, but to look at the features and the services that they can provide you. Now, of course, there's also your direct competitors, and these are typically the people we can learn the most from. But what you want to do is not just go and say, all right, well, these people provide the same service or product as me, but these people or platforms have got the same features. And what can we learn? What did they do that worked? What did they do that didn't work? Now, once you've identified your core competitors, what you need to do is place yourself in the market. At the end of the day, you want to distinguish yourself from your audience. And you'll see that we added an additional question there. Distinguish yourself from your competitors. We added an extra question there to ask, what is it that distinguishes you? Now, if you say that I've got several competitors, and there's something that I do different from each of them, but it's all different things, that means that at the end of the day, between them, they still cover everything that you do, if that makes sense. So where you really want to stand out and place yourself in the market is you want to go and say that we are the only people that do this one thing. And that's going to be your USP. That's going to be your unique selling point. That's going to be the thing that makes sure that when people want the service with this particular need in mind, that you are the only people that can provide that. Now, of course, it's also good to be able to cover all the bases, to cover all the other little things that your competitors differentiate themselves from each other as well. But unless you've got that one thing that no one else does, you're not going to be able to find that gap in the market, especially if it's an established market. And that's where a lot of our clients struggle to break into the market, is if there's already a lot of players and there's nothing that's going to make you stand out from all of the above, then it's difficult to actually get into that space very easily. Right, the next question is your target market. Now, if you're targeting everyone, you're targeting no one. So the fact is that, and Bruce also touched on this, that everyone wants to build a product that everybody uses. But you need to, first of all, find that ideal client. 80% of your revenue is going to come from 20% of your market. Okay? These are the people that frequently buy the product that you sell. These are the people that spend a lot of money on the product that you sell. And these are the people that recently bought the product that you sell. Okay? The other people are also important. We also want to make sure that we have other products and services and things in the periphery that service all the other clients. But we're after that 80% from that 20%. And we need to make sure that we identify exactly who that is. What are their psychometrics? What are their demographics? How much do they have to spend? And if we can design our services to focus on that core individual and look at that as the MVP, everything else can flow from there. Now, the next thing, and this is particular for digital environments, of course, but what type of users are we looking at? Different types of users need different types of interfaces. If I have a website where people might come on once in their lives, or maybe once every several months or weeks, it needs to be simple. It needs to be easy to find information. It needs to be uncluttered. And the information that we want to drive our users to should have a clear flow that you don't need to explain to them. On the other hand, if I'm using an accounting system, I've got a user that's going to be on there 24/7, working on that platform on a daily basis. They don't want to go through 5 screens to get a simple thing done. They want to see a lot of information at a time. And so when you're mapping out your users, just as like you're mapping out your target market, you want to understand what do they want to do on the platform? How much do they want to do at a time? Do we have the option of training them? Or are they going to be on the site so infrequently that training is just not an option? I always say that a good interface should be like a good joke. If you have to explain it, it's not that good. But again, if you have the type of user that is going to need to work with that interface a lot and frequently, they want to have tools and access to a lot of features so that they can get work done without needing to go through a long list of pages and clicks and menus to find those features. So map out your users and understand exactly what it is that they want to achieve, what their capabilities and their predisposition is, and base your designs and your layout on that. A lot of the time, you've got different types of users, and these are the types of systems where you've got options of when you log in, you see more, or you can show and hide certain features, and that's where all of that functionality works well if you're trying to accommodate different types of users. Now, the next exercise is going to be a couple of questions that follow on each other. And I want you to consider all of the things that we've been telling you today about the platform that you want to develop. Okay? We're going to ask you to, first of all, list a series of features, and we're going to give you a minute to do so. Now, these can be minor features, they can be major features. Think of all the different things that you want your platform to be able to do. Of course, as Bruce has mentioned, there's going to be maybe one or two or three screens that's going to be the core feature of what you want to do. But this list at this moment can contain all the features that you want on your site, all the things that you want people to do. We're going to go through an exercise where we're going to try and prioritize these. We're going to find out which ones are the ones that we want to focus on and start with to create that MVP that we spoke about, to create that minimal viable product. But we want to list as many as we can to start with. So I'll give you just a moment to do so. Obviously, at this point, we don't need to go into detail, like Bruce was saying, like login screens and stuff like that. We're more looking at the core features that you would want a platform to be able to perform. So again, using the example of Uber, we want to be able to order a ride. We want to be able to maybe schedule them as future additional features. We want to maybe be able to order a ride for different people, or what else did you mention that we can do on Uber there?
Add organization.
Add an organization, have several people on an account.
Yep.
So there's lots of, again, periphery features that we can add there. Okay. Now, once you've listed a series of requirements, now we need to start prioritizing. Now we need to start finding out what's going to be the first ones that we want to build, the major ones that we want to implement as our MVP. Now, I always use the example of an MVP that if, let's say we want to build a car. Okay. Now, if I start building a car, and first I build the wheels, and then I build the rims, and then I build the bonnet of the car, and then I build the seats of the car, we've spent months on development. And we're still not going anywhere. This thing's not moving, and this is not going to actually get us anywhere. But let's rather say then, I want to build a car, and then I start with a skateboard. The skateboard's moving forward, okay? It's not a car, we're not done, but we're moving, okay? Let's put a handlebar on the skateboard. All right, now I've got some stability. Let's put a motor in. Let's turn the skateboard into a bicycle. Let's turn the bicycle into a motorbike, and let's eventually turn this motorbike into a car, and then a sports car, and then whatever else you need it to be. But in every stage of the development, we had something that was moving forward. Okay. Now, this is what we want to do. We want to take these features, and we want to decide what are the features that we're going to need for our skateboard. Okay. So I want you to put a number next to each of the features that you've listed. Start with a 1 for those things that you need to move forward. And however many features you have, end up with a number at the end to see, which is the least important. Which are things we're going to need them. We're going to need to build them eventually. We're going to need that engine. We're going to need the roof of the car. We're going to need the seats. But we don't need them to get the product in the market. So these are the most important ones that's going to, our business case is going to hinge on these. We're going to need to make sure that for our idea to run at all, we have to have these in here. Again, looking at Uber, I need to be able to find a driver, I need to be able to tell him where I am, and he needs to be able to pick me up. Those are the basic features that we need. Okay. Next, I'd like you to take a letter from the alphabet, since we're all filling this in the same fields. So we can just distinguish between urgency and importance. Now, urgency is the order in which we're going to need things. Again, using the example Bruce used earlier, I'm going to need to be able to log in before this system is going to work at all. So although it's not an important feature, it's a fairly urgent one. I can't actually, have a user not be able to identify themselves. I can't have a driver not be able to identify themselves before I can put this product in the market. So although it's not an important feature, it is an urgent feature. The next question we want to ask is, which of these features might be affected by the technology that we want to use for it? Now, the reason why you ask this question is, again, you want to have quick wins. You want to start off and get things done quickly. So if your solution, if your business requirement at the end of the day have got 5 major requirements, but 2 of them are going to take a long time to develop because the technology doesn't exist, the technology is difficult, the technology is expensive, perhaps you don't need them in the MVP. Again, we're trying to whittle down my skateboard, right? Doesn't need an engine to move forward. I'm going to need that engine. It's bloody important that I have that engine in the final product. But I can't afford to build an engine right now, so you're going to have to push that skateboard yourself to move forward. All right, so that is, again, how we then start whittling down the requirements to get to the very basics, the very smallest amount of things that I need to build to get the product in the market, and that's going to be your MVP. Now, the rest of the questions really, we want to ask you to fill in the form so we have a better understanding of what your requirements are, if you want us to reach out to you and help you flesh out any of these. So it's basic questions like, do you have an existing system that we can base the new platform off of? Is there someone particular that you'd like us to contact in the organization? And what is that person's contact details? All right. So if you would like us to reach out to you and help us or help you to develop this digital strategy, please complete that form and allow us to reach out to you and see if we can set up a consultation to find out more about your requirements. Now, my final slide before we go into a question and answer section, and how are we looking for time there?
14 minutes.
Right. So what I want to do with the last slide is I just want to take a second and look behind the curtain of some of the techniques that we like to use and some of the techniques that we try to implement today. Now, our goal is to get you to interact with us. And your goal is to get your clients to interact with you. So one of the models that we use is called the Octalysis framework. Now, gamification, I'm sure is a term all of you have heard before. Essentially what it means is bringing game elements into real-world experiences. Okay, now that's not about playing games, but that's about making your work fun. It's about rolling up your socks into a ball and throwing it into your cupboard from across the room while you're doing laundry, just to make that activity that little bit more interesting. Okay, Yukai Chao, who created this framework, says that he imagines a world where our work is so desirable and our work is so enjoyable that it doesn't become work at all anymore. And so he imagines using this structure and using these core drives, he calls them, to drive users and to drive people to want to do the things that you want them to do. So we've used some of these techniques today to try and get you to engage with us, to try and get you to want to speak to us. And I'm going to touch on some of these briefly. Now, we are going to have a more detailed discussion on these and other gamification sessions in one of our future talks on the Tech Try platform. So we hope you'll join us for that as well, so we can go into these in much more detail. But briefly touching on the core drives, we've got epic meaning, which this is when you tell someone that you're doing something that's bigger than yourselves. And again, we've got the example that Bruce used with the shoes. Put some epic meaning in there. It's not about shoes, it's about solving a problem. And now that the product becomes more desirable because it's got meaning beyond yourself. Okay. The next one is development and accomplishment. That's basically giving your user feedback. Telling them that this is where you want to be, this is where you need to get, and providing you with visibility on that. Now, a small example is I have numbers on my slides, so you all know how long this was going to take. And besides this final bonus slide, we knew where the end was going to be. So providing your users and your audience with feedback, letting them know where they stand, and creating that expectation and managing it. The next one is creativity and empowerment. Now, what we told you at the beginning of the session is we are going to provide you with the tools to analyze your business. And that's how we got you to listen to us, right? So we are giving you something that you did not have before you attended the session. So we're empowering you and making what we're talking about interesting through that metric, through that drive. The next one is a very obvious one in this particular instance, and that's ownership, all right? We're talking about your business. We're talking about mapping your business. You own it, you care about it. And by driving that expectation that this is for me, this is something that I own and that is going to benefit myself, again, we're getting you to engage with us. All right. Next one is social influence. That's basically keeping up with the Joneses. That is really just the example that Yukai Chow uses on here is one of my favorites. There's a company in Canada, electricity company, that when you get your electricity bill, you don't just get yours, but you get the electricity bill for the whole block. So you see not only how much power you've spent this month, or how much you've spent on power this month, but how much everyone else has as well. And by that way, you tend to try and keep up with the Joneses and see if you can keep your expenditure less, your impact on the environment, in other words, less than the people around you. The next one is scarcity, all right? So that is simply saying that, all right, there's a one-time deal, or there's only so many left, right? So that's a fairly simple one to understand. It's perceived value based on the scarcity of a particular item. Next is unpredictability. That's basically gambling. It's fun to be surprised. It's fun to have something new and unexpected happen. And that's a little bit why we've got a final bonus slide here, that if you were keeping track of the numbers, you might not have expected to see. Finally, there's loss avoidance. And this is basically making sure that what you feel is yours is not taken away. So in a lot of cases, you would be given this deal that's only going to last for the next 5 days. So I didn't have anything before I got that deal, but now suddenly I've got 5 days. And now there's a stopwatch on this amazing opportunity. And if I don't take it up, I might lose that. All right, so again, you're creating that perceived value by giving the user something and then telling them that you might not be able to keep that unless you adopt a certain behavior. Now, finally, looking at this model, there's a very specific way that it's been laid out. We've got what we call white hat and black hat. So white hat is at the top. These are things where we use positive ways of enforcing people. So that would be telling your children that they would get ice cream if they ate their broccoli. All right. The other one is black hat, and those are the ones at the bottom, and that's telling your kids, I'm going to give you a spanking if you don't eat your broccoli. The white hat and black hat doesn't have to do with whether it's a good or bad outcome. The outcome is good, the kid's eating their vegetables, right? But we're using different ways of motivating people to do so. We then have to the left your intrinsic, and to the right your extrinsic ways of motivating people as well. The left is things that are fun to do and that you want to do by yourself. And on the right, there are things that we are enticing you to do through certain metrics to get you to drive that behavior. All right, that is, in short, the gamification Octalysis framework, and that is everything that we've got time for today. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, we'd like to,
Yeah,
love to
I was
field
just
that.
about
If
to
you've got
open up
time
the
to do
floor
so.
for Q&A. We do have a few moments. If you have any questions
Excellent.
for Hanno and Bruce on mapping your digital journey, you've covered just about everything. That is the entire digital journey explained. Are there any? Yes.
I just have a question on scaling down of the platform, right?
Yes.
Is it an overall sort of what you would advise, or is it specific to what your product is? Especially if your product is, for example, I'll just use an example with my offering, which is a legal services mobile application, right? And if you're looking at corporates and individuals, you know, you profile, obviously two different profiles, but one person can have the same profile for business and when they're consuming services in their individual capacity. So you need sort of a lot of, you may find yourself, because you're listing, because the product is only accessible on the app. So
Yeah.
you may find yourself having to page through, because you can sort of create documents on the app. So where do you stop? Or what is too much?
So I think that is where we mentioned where you want to, again, you want to list all your features. There's going to be a lot that the final product needs to have. But what is our skateboard? What is the minimum that we need to get into the market and get moving forward? It's not about scaling down in the long run. It's about deciding what features does your organization require to immediately get that gap in the market and immediately start moving forward. And then you build on that. So it's, again, not about stripping out features, but it's about having a rollout plan that would allow you to immediately address your client's requirements and obviously then start making some capital to fund the rest of the development of the rest of the features. Don't know if you've got anything to add to that, Bruce?
Nope, time. We can chat afterwards.
Excellent.
Okay, well then thank you so much, Bruce and Hanno, for that excellent presentation, for that masterclass on mapping your digital journey. I have an important announcement for the Femintech. You are all Femintech, am I right? Yeah. You are required to go to the Ballroom A for the next session. Okay, so you're familiar with that. So then, thank you so much for joining us for this masterclass. A big round of applause before you go, for Bruce and Hanno.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And then that ends the session today, this morning, on mapping your digital journey.